As Roy mentioned, I'm based in the Singapore office, but I actually cover Google Enterprise commercial segment across all Southeast Asia, including Sri Lanka. So this is actually my first trip here. Beautiful country, even though I'm only going to spend about a day and a half in Colombo. I wish I had some time to venture out to the countryside. My background, just before I jump into this, I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of my background so you kind of understand where I am now, and you can kind of see why I'm so interested in the vision for Google. So I've been at Google for about 3 years. Before this, I was actually running Google's mobile for Southeast Asia. So this is Android application, et cetera, et cetera. And before Google, I was at a startup called AdMob. And it was started in the US, but I started their Asia division, which eventually got bought by Google and hence up run by Google. And then before that, I spent about roughly 4 years with Microsoft, so managing Singapore, Indonesia, and Vietnam. So the reason I wanted to point my background is I obviously worked at Microsoft, and Microsoft is, as you know, the entrenched provider for on-premise software, right? And the reality is, I really think this is kind of the way of the future, where it's not on-premise, it's on cloud. So as Rohan mentioned, I am going to talk about two things today. So one is going to be about the Google Apps. The second one is about what we call the Google Search Appliance. I'll take about an hour, and please interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. And before I jump into that, I do want to thank everyone. I mean, it's 6 o'clock. I don't know if that's typical to have meetings late in Sri Lanka, but it's a healthy showing at 6 p.m. to go and look at a potential sales presentation. So I thank you for your time. But the good thing is, this is really interesting stuff. It's actually pretty cool, right? Because a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about intertwined with your consumer life, right? It's really what you're doing right now. But what Google's trying to do is actually bring it into the workspace, because as you see statistics, that's what people want, whether it's people in Sri Lanka or somewhere in Asia or whatever it may be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first talk about Google Apps, and I think this sentence right here kind of encapsulates what we're talking about today, which is really working better together from anywhere. So if you think about it, work used to be really confined to a single place. And the reality is, I don't know this market as well as I should, but this probably may be the current situation in Sri Lanka. I don't know. I'm assuming it is, right? And it's this way in a lot of different countries, right? Where work was really physically defined as a specific place. But what we're seeing is, this is really rapidly changing dramatically. The reality is happening probably in countries who have faster internet, faster broadband, but that is a situation where work is really migrating, where it's really anywhere, anytime that you can get your work done, for better or for worse. And that's what we at Google really think is the vision of the future, right? Google Apps, and what I'll talk to you about what Google Apps is, it's a suite of products, is really fundamentally created to design to connect people irrespective of where you are physically. So you can be in Colombo, you can be on the east coast of Sri Lanka, you can be wherever it is, but fundamentally your physical distance does not make a difference, right? Because you can still work together efficiently, quickly, and in some way, in a fun way. So going back to kind of the old way, when you worked, it was really simple. It was really kind of a siloed and fragmented experience. So the best way to think about it is files, it's copies of files. So think about your situation now where, let's say you have a budget document and you have 5 stakeholders around the country that needs to fill this budget document, and then you have to basically compile it and send out one final version to your manager. Imagine how you do it now. You send one Excel file, shoot it out to 5 different people across the country, they all enter in the numbers, they all shoot you back 5 new copies, and now you have basically already 6 versions of that budget document. You have to compile that to have version number 7, and you send to your management. It's just a crazy, crazy way of doing work, right? A lot of companies are doing that way. It's just an inefficient way. Well, Google really wanted to fundamentally change that, right? And that's what we mean by going Google, where really all your content is in one place. And I'll talk about later what this actually means. So as I mentioned before, it's working any place, anywhere, right? So what does going Google mean? It really means connecting beyond your team. So you may have someone in the regional office, you may work with vendors, you may work with partners. If you go with Google Apps, it fundamentally makes it super easy to work with all these disparate locations. In fact, you can have people all over the world and you still be able to work together, right? Once I show you the Google Apps Suite, how that actually comes. The second thing is, going Google is fundamentally changing it where you are, the content is basically built on collaboration and connection. So here's a simple scenario where you're working on a presentation. The old way was you work in silos. In the Google way, you work together. You actually all at the same time edit. You can be yourself, your manager, your assistant, all editing this one presentation at the same time. So there's no more multiple variations of a document. And I'll show you some demos later on so you can actually see it. Now, why is this important? Well, what's very important is because the average worker now uses 3 devices. So if you look at your personal, I'm sure you may have a laptop at work or a PC at work. At home, you may have a laptop, and more than likely you have a mobile phone. So I look at CleanHand. CleanHand right here is a perfect example. These are his 3 devices. He has a mobile headset, a laptop, and a tablet, and he brings this everywhere, right? So we're not confined to just a PC on a desktop anymore. That's really important. That's really important is because if these are how workers are, if you're buying software that only can be installed on one PC, what if they're outside? What if they're out in Colombo on their mobile headset? They can't work, right? There's no way they can work, right? And so that's where Google really comes in and says, look, you shouldn't be bounded by the physical devices that you use. It should be accessible from any location. It can be from the office, the train, the taxi, the tuk-tuk, whatever forms of transportation is available in Sri Lanka. So, and this is something when we're seeing this movement, and I'm going to throw you a number. There's 5 million people who have gone Google. When I mean Google, I'll talk about what this suite of product actually means, right? It's basically a suite of product that comprises email, calendar, a office replacement, a storage on the cloud, video conferencing, voice conferencing, right? All of this, and it's really straightforward. It's per user, per year, is US $50. You get this whole suite of products. There's no need to install IT systems, there's no need to install servers, there's no need to really do maintenance. Basically, all of this is really rented through Google. Now, let me emphasize this. This does not mean that IT is not needed. It actually means IT is even more crucial. And what I mean by this is, remember the old way, IT, if you have on-premise software, you install it. IT was basically, for all intents and purposes, the help center, right? Because if something breaks, I need to call IT and get them to fix it. Email's not sending out, call IT. With Google App, it fundamentally switches it and pivots to the IT center to be a knowledge center. Because, to be honest, and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, Google doesn't break. Our products, frankly, are never down, right? And that's crucial. That crucial means because it frees up a lot of time from IT, where now what questions you're going to get from the workers in your companies are going to be, well, how do I video conference now? I used to do this on Lotus Notes. How do I do it now? IT becomes a knowledge center, a center of expertise. So it makes you even more valuable if you work in IT than you were before, because you're not missing Fix-It. Fix-It is a commodity, right? This is becoming a knowledge center. And so 5 million people have gotten it. So before I talk about the demo, I wanted to talk about some trends of why we're seeing over 5 million companies globally have moved from on-premise, whether they use Lotus Notes or Microsoft, and moved to the cloud, which is Google Apps. So the first thing is, this was a study done by Forrester, and basically the question was, the technology I have at home, who thinks the technology I have at home is better than at work? And if you think about it, and I think Sri Lanka is a relatively young country in terms, when I say young countries, you have probably a young population. Over these Generation Y and Z, these are people between 18 and 31. These are going to be the next wave of leaders and managers in companies. 50% of them believe that the technology they have at home is better than work. Generation X, 39%. Younger groups, 31%, right? So employees are really highly influenced by the technology that they consume in their personal lives. Now, If you look at it from an Asian perspective, over 48%, or about 48%, feel that the technology at home is better than at work. Right? It's a little bit lower than Latin America and Europe. The second thing we've seen is different screens for different types of day. In fact, what we see is about 20% of our working hours, if you look at this chart, basically shows the time of day and by color the devices that people are using broken up in terms of time. And what you will notice is roughly 20% of our working hours are on mobile devices. Right? Now this is absolutely crucial. So imagine you're using Microsoft Exchange, right? Microsoft Exchange, frankly, on a mobile experience is pretty bad. I mean, I worked at Microsoft, and I can feel like I can say that really confidently. What that means is we're using Lotus Notes. What that means is your workers, right away, if they can't access Microsoft Outlook on the mobile device, you lost 20% of your time. They're just not working, right? So having the ability to access your email, your calendar, your documents on a mobile device is absolutely crucial. Because if they're not, then you, as leaders of your company, are losing out on productivity. Roughly 20% of that time is just disappearing. Just imagine the cost savings or the cost that you lose because of that. Now, when the study asked, the same device and software at work at home, do you use your software device for work or personal purposes? We're seeing 61% of devices are used for both work and personal use. 66% of software is blending between work and personal use. So that line, that delineation between what someone has at home in terms of device and what someone has at work is completely blurring. So for me, an example, this laptop, I use it for both work and at home. I have one mobile handset, and I use that for both work and at home, where it's completely blurred. And what you're seeing is, the technology at home is better than work. For many employees, going to work is actually likely to be a step down from what they become used in their home environment. And I think every single person in here can kind of agree with that, right? Where, have you imagined where, let's say, you're at home and you're using Skype, which has a pretty good video conferencing, and you go into work and you have to use Lotus same time. I mean, that's kind of, it's tough. I used Lotus same time years ago, and it's a pretty tough experience, right? So, and what we're seeing is this happens a lot, right? Where people are using at home, they're using Google Hangout, which is a really simple video conferencing. You don't even have to install. And then when they go to work, when they want to do video conferencing, they have to go into a room, they have to turn on the machine, and they have to turn on the polycom, make sure someone else is in another room. It's just a horrible experience. And it's evident where consumers are saying, 38% of them are saying the technology at home is a lot better than work. 46% are saying it's easier to use. 15% are saying it's not easier to use. It's a small portion. The other thing you should look at is the number of emails continue to increase. It doesn't decrease, right? More and more people are sending more and more emails, where on an average day, there's about 114 emails being sent and received. And so you can see the different breakout of it. And what's interesting is the average attachment size is 560 kilobytes. Now, think about it. 2 emails is 1 megabyte already, right? If I'm doing the math right? Yeah, I'm doing it right. Yeah. Okay. It's been a long flight. They send out 2 emails, that's 1 megabyte that they're sending out right there. If they're sending out on average 36, right there, each day they're basically using 18 megabytes of your storage. And we just had a meeting with a client where some of them, they have 50 megabytes total. Can you imagine as an IT team having to manage the bandwidth and reallocating, redeploying every single day? Because your employees, based on these statistics, are sending roughly 18 megabytes per day through their email system. That's a lot of bandwidth. That's a lot of potential waste. So storage cost is a big, big concern. And then email availability. What we're seeing is, and this is a global statistic, is you look at Microsoft Exchange servers, Lotus Notes, Novell Group-wise, in terms of downtime per minute, per month. Microsoft Exchange is down by about 200 minutes every single month on average, right? And this is both scheduled and unscheduled. The reason we broke that out is it's very important to consider. Is yes, unscheduled. We're all aware when scheduled, where system breaks down, blah, blah, blah. And that impacts business. But you also have to be cognizant of scheduled downtime because that impacts your business as well. When you're upgrading or you're improving your server, you may think that that's not imperative or detrimental to your business. The reality it is, right? Because think of it from a worker. If they can't do email, they can't work, whether it's scheduled or non-scheduled. Lotus Notes, that's the same issue. Even Novell Group-wise, where you look at Google Apps on a monthly basis, it is only unscheduled downtime is maybe about 7 minutes every month, right? And this is compared to Microsoft Exchange Server, which is about 220 minutes. And we never have scheduled downtime. The reason we never have scheduled downtime is we never need an upgrade, or all of our upgrades are on a rolling basis. So you never even notice that it's actually down. And this is applicable to other cloud providers, right? In here it's not as big, but you can see where Office 365, one of our big competitor, is down every minute, almost 760 minutes, basically every month, or email availability, it's only available. So that's what you're going to see. It's going to see happen a lot. Google Apps is probably the most sturdy in terms of email cloud provider available in the world. So what I want to do next is I want to actually go through the demo, but did anyone, I want to kind of give it a real quick, did anyone have any questions on these statistics? Any questions before I go? Okay, so I wanted to reiterate, it's really simple. Google Apps is a combination of email, calendar, cloud storage, video conferencing, VoIP, all in one package at a simple US dollar, $50 per year per user. Simple as that. There's no other different variations. You buy one, you don't have to worry like similar to Microsoft where there's 50 or 60 different versions, E1, E3, EA. I don't even know how many different versions they have. Google App is simple. It's $50 US per year, and you get this full suite of products of Office slides, email, calendar, etc. So let me go through. So Rohan, are you ready? We're gonna do some demos. Clea, you ready? Okay. So let me go with the first thing. So let me have a quick raise of hand. Who is a Gmail user in the room? You can raise your hand besides me. Okay. So probably about 80% of you use Gmail. Okay. That's not surprising. Gmail globally is the largest email provider across the world, with over 500 million users, right? So for most people, you're aware of how the Gmail works. If you use it already, if you don't, this is kind of the Gmail interface, which is included as part of this Google Apps. Now, with that, there's a whole bunch of different functionality that separates I'll talk about it later, the difference between Google Apps and the free version I'll talk about later beyond the price. So this is Google Apps. I want to talk about a couple things. One thing is, if you notice here, it says important and unread. So we have this thing called priority inbox, and it's actually pretty brilliant. What it does is it looks at your email behavior, and what it does is it only surfaces very important email. Anything that's not important, it basically drops it down to everything else. The best way to think about it is a reverse spam box. So instead of preventing emails to be shown you, it only shows you the most important email. So you can look in here, you can see I have some very important email. One of my emails is from a client that has sent me a request for proposal. So he sent me a request for proposal, and he sent it in a Word document. Now, the only problem is I don't have Microsoft Office on my computer at all. So what am I going to do? Well, it's simple. Google Apps has the technology that allows you to view this Word document as part of the package. So all I need to do is click on View. And it will pop up. All these functionality is available offline, by the way, so you don't have to need to be on broadband. And what you see is, without even having Microsoft installed, so you save on that license cost, I can basically scroll through this document. I see it has charts, screenshots, etc. So it's about a 5-page document, right? And it's a request for a proposal. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't have Microsoft Office installed. I can only view this, so there's a problem. I actually need to answer some of these questions. Well, it's not a problem with Google Apps because we simply can actually convert it from Microsoft Office to the relevant Google Office suite, which allows you to basically edit this, and it comes part of that package. So all I need to do is click on this one button, edit online, and what it will do will convert to the Google equivalent of Microsoft Office. Again, this is all included as part of $50 US. So let's, I'm gonna wait for it to convert. And you can see it is converted. You can see, give it a second here, still on the conversion. The charts are showing up. In general, the conversion process converts it, I'll be honest, 90% of the time, all the charts and everything else is perfect, right? There will be 10% that may not come through, but we're working on that, and that will improve. But the reality is for most of your workers, this fidelity, that's what we call it, conversion, will be really good enough for them to efficiently work. So this is a document now that I literally can type and edit. I can type. It becomes a living document, right? A document. And I can type on it. I can actually even say, you know what, I'm going to actually put in, so I can even, type in some emails of, let's say there's a section here that I need Clean Hand to comment on. I can just put in a comment here. Comment on this, as you know, about ERP. Put the comment down, and that automatically will send, you can't see it, but he will get an email that says, hi, this is the comment. He clicks on it, and he goes into that exact same document, and he will see it. Once he gets on his computer, he can go in that document, and you'll see him be able to edit at the same time I do. That's something you can't do in Microsoft Word, and that's included as part of $50. So Cleo, let me know when you get that email, and then if you can forward that please so I can show the audience, as well as go to that document. Right? So let me go back. So let's say I finish this document. Well, my client sent it to me in a Word document. I can't send it to him on a Google document because I really don't know if he has it, right? And frankly, I don't want to bother him to see if he has it. I just want him to be satisfied with the request for the proposal. It's not an issue. You can easily save this. So I can save it, and I can download it as any of the different formats and resend it back to my client. So I can save it as a Microsoft Word document after I've done all my editing, and I respond to him, and reply. And he does not know any better that I actually did all of this on a Google document. He shouldn't care, right? Your partners, your clients shouldn't really care. They just want an answer. They just want a proposal from you, right? But you can work and you can actually edit these documents. So I don't know if you've seen kind of the beauty of that is this Google Apps removes the friction between you and your client. From your perspective, you don't have Microsoft Office. Not a problem. You can still work because Google provides a solution. From your client's perspective, they don't have Google Office, or excuse me, they have Microsoft Office, they don't have Google Documents, but it's not a problem for them because you send it back into the same format that they got it before. So both sides can actually work, right? Where if you think about it the old way, you couldn't even work in that document. You have to send them an email, say, hi, can you send it back to me in a text document, whatever it is, back and forth, and it wasn't a really pleasant experience, right? So the next thing I want to show you is translation service. So I work with partners in Vietnam, and you can see this is in Vietnamese. I don't speak Vietnamese, right? So I need this translated. So every time you put a setting in your inbox, and it basically can do translation on the fly. So I'm going to translate, click translate, and you can see it translates it. So now I can actually understand and read this. I should know this one. I don't know if it's, what would this is a stupid question, but Sri Lanka, is there a
Sinhalese is next Q1 2014?
No,
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So unfortunately, you'll have to read it in English, right? But there's a. Now, again, think about the beauty of this, is right. Emails can come in Chinese, Arabic, anything, Malay, whatever it may be, and you can translate on the fly. Again, it's Google Apps removing the barriers to actually working the way you want to work. Right? You don't need a translation service anymore. And the other one I want to talk about is there's also a unified communication up here that you don't need to install anything. Right? So right here, I can ping Clean Hand easily. You know, say hi. I can do a whole bunch of things. I can IM him. I can even call him if I want to. So I can call him, click on call, and this will call, but I'll end it right now. So I can call him, or I can do a video conference, right? I can even do, and I'll show you the video conference later on, but we can just do a video conference. So any way that you want to communicate with your employees or other vendors and partners, you can do it. It's a unified communication, right? All within one interface. Instead of, right now you're using Microsoft, you have Outlooks here, you have links here, it's just, or Skype, it's just not a very clean experience where this is all integrated together. So there's even a translation service here where you can do it from various languages. So let's say you're working with a partner in China, and Clean doesn't speak Chinese, so I'm not going to show it, but let's say he did, he can basically IM me in Chinese, and this bot, as part of the package, will translate it to English. So then I can respond in English, and then on his side, he'll see in Chinese. Again, removing all the barriers to actually communication, working, collaboration. That's what really Google Apps is. Okay, so one of the other things I want to show you is this thing called, Clean, if you can go to this document, is working, collaborating with other employees. So if you remember before, I was talking about that. Let's say you have a budget. Let's say you have this worksheet. Hold on a second. You have this worksheet, and basically what it is you need to send it to all of your 4 different vendors to enter in the sales number of the mobile device that you have sold. So the old way of doing it would be you take this worksheet, you send it to 5 different people, they enter in their sales number, send it back to you, and then you have to sit there and compile 6 different spreadsheets into one spreadsheet, and then you send it forward. The Google way says, forget that. That's a ridiculous way to work it, where you have this one document, and it's always the most up-to-date. So in that scenario where I'm sending it to 5 different people, you remember when you send it, it also costs you bandwidth, right? Because when you send one version from your email to 5 different people, those 5 workers are downloading that Excel file. You pay for that bandwidth. You pay for that storage. The Google way takes all that away. First off, when you send it, you send only one document, and it's only one link that stores the latest revision. The second thing is there's nothing to download. Everything is saved to Google's cloud. So you save on bandwidth as well as storage. And the way you do this is really simple. You click on this, I created this worksheet, click on the share button, and just enter in all the names of the different people I want to work on the spreadsheet. So you can see over here, I had entered Clean already. You can even choose if they can edit it, they can comment, they can view on it. So I'm going to let them edit it. I'm going to share, save, get rid of that, cancel it. And he's already in here. You can see this is him, he's already in here. So, and he's represented by this green. This is him, so I'm going to change it. So you can see that we're working together. You can have literally over 50 people working on the same document at the same time. So you can see where I'm not doing anything. He's literally working on it, and the chart changes by itself, right? Because we're working. Every document will be the latest version possible, right? So we're working together. So there's no more of this process of waiting for someone to send it out. Imagine for your CFO. Maybe he has 5 different regional managers that he needs sales number back every Thursday. Instead of him having to send out 5 different spreadsheets to 5 of his regional managers, wait till they send it back to him, then compile and send it out. He sends out one link and basically says, hey, update this, and that's it. It will always have the latest versions. In fact, there's some other cool stuff about this is you can even see revision history. So let's say something is wrong. I can always revert back to this, and it shows you what was changed and restore at every single point. It automatically saves for you at every single time. You'll never lose a file anymore. So if I want to revert back to this, if I want to revert back to this version, it shows me he changed there, so I can restore it. So just imagine how much time you basically save. I remember I was with a client in Malaysia. He runs a shipping company, and he was telling me one of his scenario right now, he has a whole department, and the whole department is about 5 people. And all they do is, in the morning, they send out an Excel spreadsheet to 15 of the different post office that's part of his company. And then each of those post office will send back with the number of shipments shipped, send it back to this person, and this person literally sits the whole day, one whole day, compiling this Excel spreadsheet. At the end of the day, then finally sends it to the senior management. Every day, he has a team of 5 people doing this. First off, think of you as that person. That's probably the most worst job to possibly do, right? Because you gotta compile these spreadsheets and stuff. The second thing is, just imagine the time. It's how much is wasted. Where they can literally, that person could just send out this one link, share it to the 15 different offices, and basically they go into that one spreadsheet and they enter their number. At the end of the day, he says it's done, he sends it out. Doesn't have to do anything. Yes, he can basically save all that time and redeploy these people to a different division. You can also, and there's a whole bunch of, think of another thing about this, is the beauty of this is security. So if you don't know, 80% of data theft is not through the cloud or anything. It's simply someone takes a USB stick, plugs in the computer, and basically copies an Excel spreadsheet onto the USB stick and walks off of it. 80% of all data leakage is through a USB stick. Why I point that out is, with this, there's no more leakage anymore, because it simply is this, is if for whatever reason, Clehan, I don't want him to see this doc anymore, X him out, save the changes, and he will not have access to this document anymore, right? Because it's purely built a link on the cloud. So think about a scenario where you send out a very private, confidential budget sheet, your quarterly report, to 15 of your managers. The next day, one of them leaves for the competitor. Well, he sent out an Excel, tough luck. He can, more than likely, he probably put it on a USB stick and brought it to his new company. You can't prevent that, it's impossible. With this, the minute he quits, you take his name off and he will never be able to access a document ever again. There's just nothing to download. You can prevent them from downloading. There's nothing to download from them. Does everyone kind of understand that? From a security perspective, you will not have any issues with security of that. That. Okay. One other thing is I want to just talk about real quickly calendar. So, for the 70 or 80% of people here who use Gmail, there's a unified calendar where you can have this is all of my professional calendar, but I can also add my personal calendar into here as well. And I can add my coworker. It's simple as adding their name. If they give me permission, then I can see their calendar on my calendar. Again, they need to give me permission, of course, but it's as easy as adding these unified calendar together, right? You don't need to worry about configuration of Exchange to actually help the calendar. So, you might want to go out go out in a second, right? So what we want to show next is basically video conferencing. So I set up this meeting. I think how easy this is. I literally set up this meeting with CIO. I added Clehan and someone else to it. And I can basically say, hey, we want this to be a video conference. No need for a room anymore. I just need to click on this video conference button. And this is our video conferencing. It's simple. You can have up to 15 people at the same time on a video conference. So we'll wait for here. So I had invited Clehan, so we'll wait for him to join. But I can also call people too. I can add people's telephone. Let's say someone is not on a smartphone. I can call, I can call Rohan in here and add him into this call as well. But so you can have up to 15 people do a video conference with no software needed, no software installed. So we'll wait until Clehan gets on here in a second. Now what's also good about this is you have all these features on the side. You can also do a screen share. So I can share my screen. So imagine your IT department now. They don't need to get on the phone. If someone has an issue, the person will call you. You don't need to get on the phone and try to understand what's wrong with their computer anymore. It's simply as you get them on the Google Hangout, say, hey, can you screen share and show me what's wrong with your computer? And then right away, they can diagnose that, right? Instead of, how now to try to do remote desktop, it's such a tedious experience. They need to install software to do all this. There's no need anymore. You can do this all through a browser with no software needed to be installed. You You can also even share documents as well. So let's see, it's not jumping on here. You can also work on the same document while everyone's doing a video conference. So I'm going to go in here to my drive. I can open up this document. And everyone on the video conference, you can have up to 15 people. Imagine, no need for travel, no need for moving. Everyone can do it at their desktop, and we can work on the same document together, right, from our desktop. You know, where the old way was you would have to send out the PowerPoints to every single person. You know, if the projector doesn't work, it's a tedious experience. See, he's not. Maybe he has an internet connection. So, well, let me show you something else. Third thing I want to show you is this thing called the Google Drive, and this is where you have 30 gigabytes of storage to store any of your documents, files, music, movies. So this is where you have two options. You can either have on your PC or laptop a folder, and for the people, you know, you can drag a file simply to this folder and it'll sync online, or you can basically upload it through the browser interface, and it's 30 gigabytes included to store any kind of files in the storage area. You can share folders with other people. These are all the files that have been shared with me as well, and it's really a central way where it protects you if there's any issues with data loss. If your computer breaks down, you don't have to worry because it's all backed up and saved up here, right? The last thing, and this can all be done via mobile handset. So CleanHand could have been on a tablet, on an Android or iOS, and you can do a video conference through here as well. So I'll skip because of time, I want to skip on that. So the last thing I want to show you is surveys. So can I get a quick raise hand? Do you, in your company, if you do surveys, please raise your hand. Maybe 3, 4, okay, 5. So this is what we have. It's really simple to create a survey. I don't know how you do, I'm assuming the surveys you guys do now is really, again, you create an Excel spreadsheet, you send it out, someone fills it out, and someone needs to compile it, right? But with Google, it completely doesn't, that's not how you do it anymore. Where you can simply, I can create a form literally in minutes. So I'm going to create this form, let's say it's, I'll pick a template. Question. And then do multiple choice. Done. And I can literally create a survey where you can, right there, and all I need to do is send this live form to everyone in my company. It's done just like that. I mean, you can see the email looks like this. So this is a sample survey, annual employee survey. You get it through their email, then they can answer directly through their email. And when you go in, and all of this is tabulated in real time. So you'll see here, you can view the responses. The minute someone clicks on this interest in this survey, you'll see the real response in real time right away. So there's no more need of compiling all this work that takes forever, right? In fact, you can even do it where, you know, show you charts. So you can see charts with this so that you can send it to your superior managers. All this is just done. It just takes away a bunch of wasted time that you had before. So that's really the Google Apps. I mean, there's about 70 different features of it, but the best way to think about it is email, communication, Microsoft Office replacement, and video conferencing and VoIP for a price of $50 US per user per year. Right? And that's really simple. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about software installation. You don't have to worry about servers. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Right? you basically allow Google, who runs the biggest email in the world, to really take that commoditized product and let us manage it for you, with you having utter control over it. Oh, one point I wanted to say is, so you've seen some of this, and for the people who use Gmail in their personal life, a lot of the stuff is, yes, available for free in the consumer version. So your question will be, well, if it's all for free, why should I pay $50 for the business version? And if you ask that, that's a great question. I would ask as well. So the answer to that is really simple. It boils down to a couple of things. The first thing is feature set. There's a bunch of features, mainly security and control features, that are available only in the business version that you cannot get on the free version, right? You have stuff as two-factor authentication, you get 5.9 reliability, you get customer service. All of these are not available with the consumer version. Example, you get 30 gigabytes of storage on the Google for Apple Business, which you pay, where on the personal version you get 15 gigabytes. So that's the first one. The second thing is control. And what I mean by that is, imagine you said, you know what, I don't want to pay $50. What you're showing me is fantastic. I like it. I want everyone in my 500-person company to switch over to Gmail. But you know what? I'm not going to pay you. I'm just going to have everyone use a personal Gmail because I can do a lot of these functionalities. And I would say to you, well, the challenge is this, is when you have people using the personal version, you as a senior manager, the CIO, the IT team, have zero control what these 500 people do. Who has control? Each one of those people have control, not you. And what I mean that is, you send out a document, you're sending it to a Gmail address, you have no right to go to Google and say, hey, can I make sure that they don't forward that to anyone else? Because at the end of the day, it's a personal email. They own it, not you. Where on the business version, you can basically, you as the IT, your IT team owns every single domain. In fact, you can block it where no one can send any email outside of your domain. Now, a lot of companies use that. We have a lot of companies that basically said they don't want people sending or forwarding emails to Gmail address, Hotmail address, the competitors, so they can only send emails internally to someone that has the same domain as them. They can also turn off, let's say you don't want people to IM anymore, or you don't want people to video conference. They can turn off all those functions. So you can remote wipe any mobile device. So right now, where if you're on the Google app for business and someone has a handset, maybe one of your senior executives, and they lose it on the business trip. And if they're using Gmail, we're kind of out of luck, right? Because you can't do anything with it. If you're on Google Apps, you have the functionality with one button. You can swipe it completely free, completely clean, and there's nothing left on that handset anymore, right? So it's a sense of control. And the third thing is you have the local support, right? So you're going to be working with FinTech and Clean and his team, right? As well as Google. That's in day there to make sure that all your requests are fulfilled. Where the personal version, well, get in line. There's 500 million people that are ahead of you potentially, right? So that's why fundamentally there's a big difference between the enterprise version and consumer version of that. Okay, enterprise search. So let me talk about enterprise search. So the Google.com experience as a consumer is, you've all seen and seen how this is, where you type in something and all this information comes up, right? And what we're seeing is, with a lot of enterprise, they ask, well, why can't I get Google.com for my enterprise information? These are typical questions people ask. Do we have any reports on market size? What interest rate products do I have? Has my boss written anything on this? What's important things I should know? And a lot of these questions are unanswered because roughly, based on an IDC forecast, 38% of workers' time is spent unsuccessfully searching, gathering information, and recreating existing content. Think how crazy that is. Where 8% of your workers' time is duplicating the PowerPoint that someone next to them has already created. 8% of their time. 21% of their time is trying to find information that if they had some way to search for it, they could find it. But now they don't, so they have to go and call people, email people, IM people. And then 9% is wasted, where they just can't find stuff. It's unsuccessful, right? So that's what Google Search Appliance is. Google Search Appliance is a box that you rent. It's a physical box that looks like this. It's pretty whimsical, and it sits in your data center. It literally sits in your data center, right? none of the information that it indexes goes to google.com at all. It's an on-premise rental of the box for either 3 years and 2 years. And the beauty of this is this box indexes pretty much any type of file you can possibly think of. It could be file shares, internet, database, enterprise applications, content management, cloud applications. You name it, you can index it. So it's really bringing the google.com experience into the enterprise to help you find information. It also has security functionality. So you may be asking, well, that's great that it can index all this stuff, but does that mean it needs to be open for security breaches? Because now someone who I only give permission to maybe look at very non-confident information, because now it's indexed, does that mean they can actually see it? And the answer is no, right? Any security implementations that you do right now for existing workspace can translate to the Google Search Appliance. So here's an example of this is, the bottom line is users see only what you allow them to see. It does not change it at all, right? If you're a manager with the proper security credentials, you can see all the confidential information. If you're staff without the proper security confidential, you don't see anything. You control them. And it works everywhere. It works on a mobile device, tablet, you name it. So let me go through the demo of this one, Google Search. So here's an example of it. I mean, it's clean. It looks literally like google.com. Ultrastrat is the company name, but it could be your name. It could be whatever. It could be Atkins Space. It could be whatever name you want to be it. And it's simple. It's basically how you search, right? So this box, so right here, and it's the same Google experience where as you type in, it recognizes what you're typing, right? So I'm going to do federal regulation brief. To talk about the security functionalities, where you can set it where you can log into it, or you don't need to log in depending on how you want it. It's a little slow here. Okay, so it came up. So you see when I did a search for federal regulation brief, you can see where it searches everything. You can even have it different. You can only search for SharePoint, Documentum, file system. You can even add filters to this because sometimes maybe you know what the author is, the creation date, the file type, etc., etc. So let me do a demonstration. So this first document is transportation dot, and it's a Microsoft Word document. So remember, I do not have Microsoft Office. It's not a problem. Again, Google removes that friction where you just highlight over here. Stop. Where it has an inbuilt viewer for users to see file formats that they may not actually have installed in their system, right? So this is, you can see that this document is 5 pages long, and this is really good. Imagine for your workers on a mobile device, no one's going to have Microsoft Office on a mobile device, but they can still access documents. So this is a document. I can do a couple things with it. I can click on this cache button, and it will highlight all the words federal regulation briefs along with the articles. You can see it's highlighted. I can even say I don't speak English. I can translate this. So why don't I translate this? It will actually do a translation for me. I would translate it to, let's just do Estonia right now for the sake of it. And it will translate it to Estonian example. So that's probably not the best example, but imagine you get a document that's in Chinese, you can translate it to basically English, right? Or eventually when Sri Lankan language comes forward, you can translate it to real-time translation. I can then just email if I want to. Even email to someone else, right? And again, it's built for mobile as well. So where I can do it here is, you can click on this button, Financial Controller, And this is really good because sometimes you may be on a mobile device, you can't type anymore. You can just basically do a voice search. Again, it indexes all your different files in different formats and pulls it up. And it pulls up a different, all the different results I would want from this, right? So I can try it again. Transportation. So again, you can see it basically comes up. I'm trying to remember what the term here was. This was like financial, federal. Because there's this other functionality, which is experts. So not only does this provide you documents that are related to search term, but what it also can do is provide you experts in your company that knows about this specific topic. And what they are, they're basically, you can define them as experts in your company, and when someone does a search term for a specific word, here we go. Oh, sorry. So financial, you can see you have the documents related to this word financial, but you also have experts in your company that are considered basically having quantified or labeled themselves as an expert on the term financial. So let me pull up these individuals. Let me pull this guy, Jose Torres. And he is someone who has defined himself as an expert when it comes to finance, right? So you can see his expert skills, financial represent, financial support, documents that he's authored, who's on his team, who he reports to. And this is really good, right? Because a lot of the time workers are just trying to find information and there may be an expert who is 3 seats down from them, but they had no idea. This is a way to help you surface it. So you can find this person, you can find out, okay, maybe you can click on this and find out what the office is. You can email them, of course, an email will pop up. You can chat with them, have a quick conversation, and this person will respond right back. And then, or you can check, if you want a longer conversation, you can check their calendar, and it's booking the time with them. So again, Google Search Appliance is really trying to find answers to people's searches, and whether it's documents or people, either way, it's helping to find that answer so that your workers can be a lot more productive. So that's it for the Google Search Appliance. It is sold on a 2 and 3 year term. The prices, you can talk to Clehan and Finetec about it. But I think it's actually a very useful product in terms of actually driving searches and helping your workers find solutions to their answers or finding answers to their questions. With that, I think that was it. Was there any questions before we wrap up here?